What happens when liberation feels more terrifying than captivity? October 23, 1944. Leyte, Philippines. American soldiers entered a newly abandoned Japanese garrison. Sunlight cut through a torn metal roof and settled on dust, debris, and a single pair of women's sandals lying crooked on the floor. They expected resistance. Instead, they had stepped into something else entirely. The silence felt engineered, not like retreat, like a place holding its breath. Inside a darkened barracks, Kim Sun Hee pressed herself against a splintered wall. She held her breath until her vision blurred. Years of orders, blows, and violations had carved silence into her bones. Outside, Boots approached. To her, Boots were not rescue. Boots meant command. Boots meant pain delivered on schedule. Freedom was not a word she understood. For over a decade, the Imperial Japanese Army had built a massive, bureaucratic network of military comfort stations. Ledgers, quotas, medical logs, transfer lists, everything stamped, categorized, and filed. Human beings reduced to inventory. A metal door screeched open. A flashlight swept across stained bedding, torn uniforms, empty injection bottles, and 3 women curled in the corner, trembling, refusing to lift their heads. A soldier lowered his rifle. Softly, he said, "It's okay. You're safe now." They didn't react. Not a flinch. His training had prepared him for battle, never for this. In the next room, a young soldier tried something that had worked in liberated villages. He pulled out a chocolate bar. The silver wrapper glinted in the light. Kim Sun Hee saw the motion. Her body reacted first. A scream ripped from her chest, raw, instinctive, uncontrollable. She threw herself backward, shielding her head, shaking so violently the chocolate bar fell from his hand and clattered on the floor. In that instant, the illusion of a simple rescue collapsed. The platoon leader walked the length of the barracks. Identical bunks, crates labeled with medical kanji, notebooks filled with precise handwriting. He flipped through a ledger, columns organized with cold administrative discipline. He raised his radio. One word: systematic. This wasn't an abandoned building. It was a crime scene designed by policy. Then came the next obstacle: language. A soldier tried the one Korean phrase he knew. The women didn't respond. Years of forced Japanese had severed the sound of their own mother tongue. Words meant danger. Speaking meant punishment. When medics arrived, they stopped cold. Bodies flattened by starvation. Ribs like scaffolding. Old fractures fused badly. Infections untreated. Needle scars tracing their arms like constellations. A nurse covered her mouth. A doctor lowered his clipboard. When he reached for a pulse, a woman recoiled. At the sight of a syringe, another threw herself against a wall. The obstacle wasn't medical, it was trust, broken at the root. Command adapted. Rations were placed gently on the ground. No words, no gestures, no sudden moves. Minutes passed, until one woman crawled forward, snatched a can, and retreated into the shadows. Not acceptance, testing. Female personnel were brought in, and then Lieutenant Kimura, a Japanese-American officer. When she spoke Japanese, the room froze. So she switched, slowly, carefully, into Korean. The accent wasn't perfect, but to the women it sounded like a crack in the wall. A doorway to a life untouched by punishment. "I'm an American officer," she said softly. "I'm here to help. You can say no." No one relaxed. But for the first time, one face lifted. A whisper formed. A question. Kimura answered, not with authority, but with patience. It was the first conversation in years that wasn't an order. Recovery began with control, micro-decisions that had been stolen from them. A bar of soap placed beside a bucket, a step back, a long pause, a trembling hand reaching forward, the first time she washed because she chose to. Food placed on the floor. A woman took it and ate because it belonged to her choice, not someone else's command. Hands unclenched, eyes met. Whispers grew into cautious exchanges with medics. Tools were explained before use. Thermometers placed in palms first. Meals kept small to prevent refeeding shock. Bodies healed. Trauma moved at its own pace. Then came the question no one wanted to ask. Where do they go now? Home meant stigma, blame, silence, or nothing left at all. Some feared rejection, some feared memory, some feared both. So they leaned on one another, the bonds formed in captivity becoming the backbone of their freedom. They relearned how to eat without bracing, how to sleep without waiting for footsteps, how to speak their names aloud again. And slowly, stories emerged. Kim Sun Hee was the first. She gave dates, uniforms, punishments, schedules, room layouts, routes, procedures. Other women added details, each confirming the last with chilling precision. This wasn't testimony. This was evidence. Documentation began. Injuries recorded, statements collected, photographs taken only with consent, ledgers preserved, signs translated. Every artifact catalogued. The pattern was undeniable. Some survivors chose repatriation. Some chose resettlement. Some entered long-term care. Every path rested on a single principle: choice, something stolen from them for years. Years later, an older Kim Sun Hee stood before an international tribunal. Her hand trembled on the railing. Her voice shook, then steadied. She did not speak for revenge. She spoke for record, for truth, for every woman who never walked out of those rooms. The world was forced to confront a system designed to erase dignity. But dignity survived. Sometimes as a shared scrap of food. Sometimes as a whispered name. Sometimes as the decision to speak or the decision to remain silent. Against an industrial structure built to dehumanize, the most powerful act of defiance was not a weapon, but a single, consistent gesture of human respect, repeated until it was believed.